Okay, everyone, we're starting. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you all are having a lovely day. As you may know, today is Earth Day. Today, as we celebrate Earth Day, let us remember the interconnectedness we share with our planet. Our Earth is not just a place we inhabit, it's our home, our sanctuary. And on this day, let us renew our commitment to protecting and preserving it for our future generations. Today, I have four amazing panelists with me who I would like to give a brief introduction of. First of all, we have Paul Pranto from Bangladesh, who is working for climate advocacy and action. His organization is actively involved in climate education and awareness campaigns. Hello. Next, we have Mariam Al Ansari. Mariam is an Emirati climate actionist and is actively involved in youth league campaigns. She is the lead voice for Pathfinder's platform. And last but not least, we have Banco Patience. Banco is a Kenyan climate activist who is passionate about zero waste. She is the founder of Walton Africa Waste. Hello, how are you all?
Thank you
So,
so
first of
much
all,
for the incredible welcome.
thank you. So, first of all, can you guys give a brief introduction about yourselves?
So I'll go first. My name is Mariam Ansari. I'm the host of the Pathfinders podcast. I have involved myself in sustainability a few times. I think voicing is the best way to raise awareness and having conversations about it, and that's a part of my podcast. That's a bit about me.
Yes, thank you, Mariam. I was also in your podcast. Thank you. It's an amazing initiative. So, would any of you both like to go next?
Absolutely. Hello, I am Prantapal from Bangladesh, and I am working for climate change in SDG 13 for the past 5 years in Bangladesh with some community health education and some kind of projects. And currently, I am working as the founder and the managing director of Eco Prescription, and I am also working as the country climate ambassador at FXB International. That's all.
Wow, thank you, thank you. Now, would you like to go next?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Bako Patience and I'm from Uganda. I'm an Act for Food youth leader and also co-founder Walton Africa Waste Limited. We deal in waste, textile, plastic, and food waste. And for us, we believe young people can create a world free from zero waste. And also, concurrently, I'm a conservation lead with Vijana Climate Change Advocates and I'm a forester by profession. Thank you.
Wow, thank you all. It's lovely meeting you today. So, my first question would be for Mariam, if I may. So, how can youth involvement in climate action initiatives be maximized to create a meaningful change?
So I know that youth consider themselves not with the right experiences, or we see ourselves as not as less educated. However, we are the most passionate and ambitious, and so any kinds of initiatives we are looked upon for taking it forward, because we find joy in, and we find passion and we find meaning in leading some things that are bigger than us. And so I think youth could utilize that passion and ambition in terms of supporting their ideas and moving forward.
Yes, yes, exactly. Youth is not only the future, but youth is also the present.
Yeah.
So, the next question I would like to address to all of you. What are some innovative approaches that young people are taking to address climate change in their communities? Anyone would like to go first?
Okay, I can talk something about this. So, the innovative approach is actually the right now in Bangladesh. from my community, the youth are actively engaging to combat the climate change, and most importantly, they are focusing on they are using the technology and how to track the climate change. Like one of the plan uh, I got some days ago, like an organization is creating some eco mobile games to to engage the people. Actually, as you know, the mobile phone is everyone hands now, so they are planning for this. And also some of them are creating some kind of comic books for the children, like they are focusing on that. If a children from his or her early childhood know about the climate change, then he can be actually he will be the next youth in the future. So I
Yeah.
think this kind of innovative approaches are most appreciated in Bangladesh, and overall the worldwide. I think the youth are creating great work towards the climate change and also meet the SDG goals.
Yeah, exactly. In my opinion, that the best way to tell people about climate change is in a fun and more innovative approach. I've also heard about those eco games. One time when I was there was an exhibition in Adnog. There was something about planting mangrove seeds to a drone, and it's an initiative that's actually going on. So yeah, it's a really fun way to create awareness. So, Banka, would you like to go next?
Yes, definitely. So, like many young people are getting more creative, and that's something that's evident. And in the current generation, I think we are doing amazing work. Like, for instance, in Uganda, many young people are involved into different innovative projects or eco-friendly projects that are aimed directly towards conserving the environment, protecting biodiversity, maybe tackling food security. And an example is just with our organization, where we take deliberate actions to plant trees around landfills, and we do that because we want to increase our urban biodiversity. And also, many youth in my country are engaging into active education, and they do this with the children. So they engage the children like practically, show, demonstrate, then they do work out some things together. And I've seen the Kishini Gardeners, also a youth-led organization. They work directly with school children, and they help establish school gardens and also show the children, also teach the children how to, tender the crops and and they're also establishing forest gardens. So they're really amazing projects, and I feel like they're trying to bridge that generational gap between production of crops among the young and the old. So we want to create an environment where knowledge never dies, so that one day when we grow older, the next people should be able to pick up and also fight, fight, and also make the world a better place, just like the way we are doing in our youthful ages. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we can all agree on is the importance of education. Actually, there is a proverb that goes, I really like it. It's a Chinese proverb. It goes like, if you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. And if you're planning for a lifetime, you have to educate people. And that's really the mindset we need, right? So, next, Mariam, and then we can move on.
So I think in terms of utilizing technology could be something where we can see creativity taking a different form with AI, with augmented reality, all of these technological advancements that are happening. We can utilize that and be relevant to today's kids and youth. I know we're um, now accepting the fact of okay, AI is part of our lives, but people older than us don't really accept that, but people younger than us accept that much faster.
Yeah.
And so utilizing these technologies to spread awareness and spread the word, like using augmented reality, virtual reality, all of these things to educate, but also raise awareness in terms of kids knowing about what climate change is. Because the most important thing is, I know one person's um, recycling could not make a huge difference, but when you combine all of these people together, it creates a cycle effect. And so, kids, I see, like, I knew someone who started doing his own planting farming at his own house. And because he started it and he knew about climate change, he was very young, like I think he was 15, 16. He encouraged his family to start being responsible as well. And that led to the society, his neighbor being more aware and more like, okay, what are you doing? The curiosity started over there. And then that spread to the society. And now a lot of people know him. He now sells his organic foods on supermarkets. And so one person's, especially a kid's, um, influence could happen on their family, then the neighbors, then the community, and then the society.
Yeah.
And so trying to target these kids and marketing them and advertising them in a way that is relevant to them could be really something that in the future we see youth being involved more.
Yeah, yeah. So it really creates a ripple effect, like when you drop something in water. I also like the thing where you brought up augmented reality. Actually, in COP, in the green zone, there was a thing about augmented reality telling people, children, it was directly at children mostly about the forests. And I'm not sure if you've seen that, but there was a big segment about AI in COP 28 in Dubai. So, in what ways can education play a pivotal role in empowering youth to become leaders in climate action?
So at school, I'll go first. So at
Sure.
school, when you have those kinds of climate change awareness or education coming from teachers, it's very important to realize the impact it could have in your coming years. Because I myself got exposed to what climate change is and the severity of it when I was what very recently, actually, after even graduating and all of these things. And so I knew that climate change was an issue, but I didn't know how severe it was. And
Yeah.
so, and the positives and the negatives of it, like what are not just the pessimistic view of climate change, but also the optimistic view of climate change and how we can get there. Not that students being taught that the world is dying and our earth is going to be, we're not going to have food or water.
Yeah.
This is scaring the kids, but in terms of actually giving them hope and giving them optimistic ways which are even realistic, giving them one, two, three of how we can move forward, what you can do as a kid, that I think shows a lot of responsibility in education and the way it should be educated to kids from teachers and people in charge.
Yeah, it's psychologically proven that if you give hope, it's gonna be better, and people are gonna understand more, and people are gonna wanna
Yeah.
do more about it.
I mean,
So
some people do like the pessimistic view. However, kids are less aware how to differentiate between all of these things. And
yeah.
so, being optimistic and showing them the right uh, path forward could be something that could, yeah, be positive in the long term.
Yeah, true,
If
true.
there's a guy, if there's a kid who's just pessimistic and ever since he was a kid about climate change or the world dying, then he would just give up on it. Like,
Yeah.
he's very small, he can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, you're gonna have a mindset that the world is dying. What can I do about it? Nothing's gonna happen anyway. So yeah, Paul, would you like to go next? It seems like Banco is having some internet or connectivity issues, so we'll get back to her. So would you like to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm adding something to the Maria's word actually, like from the awareness training or everything else. I think the program should include some visual interaction also. As you know, from psychological things, the visual elements can attract us, most importantly. And another thing is to support the youth leadership and the other things like some of the programs they are giving the only the trainings and only the workshops, that's all. So if they get the support from from the workshop authority or the training authority to propose something focusing the climate change, just like the social action project in a small scale. Like they can build up a team, a small team or 2 or 3 members, and they can give something so that they can find the funding for this. I think
Mm.
this will create a more appropriate youth leaders around the world, and also they will feel interested to work more on the climate change.
Yeah, visual representation, something pleasing, aesthetically pleasing to the eye, it really draws people in it. So, what are the main challenges young people face in advocating for climate action, and how can they overcome it?
Okay, I can go first. So the main challenges actually as a youth, from my early youth stage, I faced most importantly, like there were no that kind of opportunities for me to engage in some kind of climate action initiatives, or that's all. So I think more programs should be implemented specifically from the rural areas, as I was living in the rural areas, and now I'm living for the past 6 years or 5 years in the urban for my study purposes. So in the rural set, there are no that kind of climate change based or climate based initiatives to was for me to be engaged in. So I think this was one of my challenges as a youth for me. So it should be concerned. And
Yeah.
another thing is that to create more volunteers opportunity for the youth to be engaged in
Mhm.
some kind of organizations or some kind of youth initiative, so that they can develop the leadership skills.
Yes, yes, there should be education, of course. Banco, it seems like you disconnected, so I'll just repeat the question for you. What are the main challenges young people face in advocating for climate action, and how can they overcome them? So, would you like to speak on that, Banco? Um, well, I think there's some connectivity issues over there. So, Mariam, would you like to?
So a lot of entities now are, as Isa was saying, that volunteering opportunities are there. Um, that is something that youth can utilize in terms of engagements, and as well as creating their own initiatives as well. I know there's just like one person in the beginning, and there's not a lot of support. But however, with time, you build like a community that comes together for volunteering purposes, or is it like just flyers around the corner of your neighborhood?
Mhm.
You can have more power in your voice than you
Yeah.
realize.
Yes,
And so
exactly. Yeah.
that idea being conceptualized in your head would be very important for youth, to be honest. I think most of the complications, or most of the ways people or youth don't really expand themselves, is because of inner beliefs. So as long as you believe that you can do it, you at least take a step forward to perhaps being able to achieve that. Maybe you don't achieve that, but if you limit yourself, then you're not going to achieve it anyways.
Yeah, exactly. The failure shouldn't limit you. It makes you stronger. Banco, is your connection better? So would you like to speak on this topic? Um, hello? Well, then we'll just move to the next question. Uh, so this is general for everyone. You can all jump in. Can you share success stories of youth-led climate initiatives that have made a significant impact on local or global scales?
I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
Greta Thunberg would
Okay,
be
you
the
can go.
sorry.
Yes, um, the actor.
So Greta Thunberg would be the prime
So
example of how you
I, the young people have many success stories, and one thing I know about young people, they're very.
You're not audible right now. I'm sorry.
Actually, yeah, one thing I know about young people is that they're very determined. Can you hear me now?
You're lagging right now.
I was saying one thing I know about young people is that they are very determined, and most times when they decide to do something, they always put an extra effort to succeed. And they have seen that with many young startups. However much they have however much they have some difficulties, say financial difficulties. I've seen most of them putting things together and also impacting their society. An example is the Kwanza initiative. It deals in renewable energy. They make charcoal briquettes, and they've been able to supply charcoal briquettes to many rural communities in Uganda. I've also seen many young people coming in with other various innovations in the food sector. For instance, when I was a college president at the university, I happened to organize an exhibition for the young people within the universities, and you could really see how passionate they are.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, it seems like she has disconnected again. Mariam, you were speaking, so maybe you'd like to continue, or well, okay. Paul, you can go next.
Okay, so one of the youth organization in Bangladesh, actually, they founded in 2016, and they also work for the sexual and reproductive health rights and the climate change specifically. And right now in Bangladesh, they are doing so great, and I am also working as a part of this from the COVID period, actually 2020, and they actually working from the local led organization to right now they're on the Bangladesh led organizations, and they have also participated in some international conferences and some youth programs. So they are doing great as a success story. I would say, like from as I have already mentioned earlier, that a small scale social action project can lead to a big organization. Like we should
Yeah.
start from the small thing, from the very at the very first beginning. We can't reach to the big things like the big organizations. So from the small scale social action project, a project can lead to a big organizations if they can be dedicated to their works, and they can also be a successful one.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mariam, would you like to?
As I was mentioning, Greta Thunberg is the prime example of this. She was on the World Economic Forum, representing youth, and then she started doing rallies, I think in US and all around the world here. And she was even like considered as one of the most influential by the Times Magazine. And so I think this is one of the success stories really out there. She's very young. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, what she did was incredible, like extremely
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, I guess so. Mariam, you also mentioned using digital platforms. So, how can digital platforms and social media be leveraged effectively by young activists to raise awareness on climate issues?
Showing the impact of what climate change is doing to us. I think all of us are looking at the side effects, or you could say the results of climate change that has happened in the past. um, and so we can, if we can show, like, the endangered animals. Unfortunately, we don't want to show the inhumane aspects to it. However, if we do show it, maybe perhaps people could really see how sensitive and severe the issue is, and take actions toward this. So social media could be utilized to spread pictures, reels, informative videos as well, not just pessimistic messages, but also optimistic words out there, that youth all together could come together and start perhaps like a community beach beach cleanups, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, most of the youth is now on social media. We can be scrolling through reels and you can see stuff and you can like boost the message, comment, like etc. etc. So that's a way that we can spread awareness. So if you would like to jump in, Paul, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, social media is a great tool right now for reaching the
Yeah.
wider audience, and I think like everyone, every organization or every initiative should have a proper social media plan right now. Like how
Mm.
what will be their audience actually? Like some of are working as the for the adolescents or some of them for the youth, the age range actually, and also the location. Like I'm working in the eco prescription, and my participant is based on specifically the Bangladeshis, and
Mm.
then other countries around the South Asia. So I think a better social media plan can reach a wider audience. And
Yeah.
also for the digital platform, right now the artificial intelligence is having a great impact in everywhere in our life, like from
Yeah.
our personal life to and other things. I think they can utilize this for their social media
Mm.
promotional materials, like for the poster designing or flyers or everything else. They can use
Of
the
course.
help of AI.
Yeah. AI can enhance and give us knowledge, etc., etc., right? So, what role do you guys believe intergenerational dialogue plays in fostering collaboration and driving sustainable solutions to climate change? Um, Mariam, would you like to, or
Sure. So Iman, what we're doing right now is something like an interchangeable of cultures and different communities, right? Isa is
mm,
from Bangladesh. I'm so sorry, I forgot. I who was she's from Uganda, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so we're all here from different backgrounds, different cities, and like different continents, even that we're
mm,
sitting here and having this conversation. And so technology has made it accessible for all of us to have these conversations in different
mm,
cultures uh, and societies. And
yeah,
so, yeah, this is the prime example.
exactly, exactly. So we can move on to the next question. So, from you guys' perspective, what policy changes are most urgently needed to combat climate change and protect the planet for the future generations?
With COP28, I think there were some policies that were all
Mm.
signed upon and agreed upon to reduce carbon levels by, I think, a couple of it was less than 1.5%, something like that.
1.5. 1.5.
Yes, 1.5. And so these kinds of policies are in the action. However, we as youth can urge for youth related policies. Like we don't have a lot of say in these 1.5 because the major oil and gas companies are the one who are the share stakeholders here. However, in terms of if there are policies that are related to kids in terms of education or in terms of obviously we have a say because this is our planet and we're gonna be living in it after a couple of years. We're the one who are the future, and then we're gonna, you know, see the consequences. And so we do have the rights to speak up. However, realizing the limits of where we can speak up and how much we can have an impact, right? Don't
Mm.
think like you can change the entire world, but you can change a small aspect to it, or a medium aspect, or a large aspect. However, have realistic goals and realistic plans where you can
Mm.
you know change. Maybe perhaps one policy won't do it, maybe like this small policy or that small policy, maybe one policy to bring it to action might take you years. However, this policy can change the course of the country or the entire race.
Mm. So,
Okay, one of the policy changes that I feel are very vital for us to combat climate change and also reduce the greenhouse gas effect is policy on halting forest degradation. And and I feel that's very important because natural forests play a very vital role in sequestering carbon, and they're more effective than the new trees that have just been planted. And if we see at some extent also, you realize the massive tree planting initiatives are actually the ones that are contributing more to the, to the increase in global temperatures. Because I'm saying this in a perspective of mm, those new forests being planted in manners that are not, even directed, and most of them, the species are not being matched well. And the other
Yeah.
policy that I feel could come up in place is many those big organizations, companies that produce toxic materials, say like plastics, yes, they are good for use, but they're also toxic to environment. And maybe those that deal with food processing, maybe textile, maybe those that deal with construction work. I feel there's a need for companies to take full responsibility. For instance, if maybe you emit some form of greenhouse gas, you should be able to trap it within the companies and not let them live where they're being produced from. I think that could be a very good initiative, and because I believe if they do that, it will reduce those opportunity costs of looking for carbon offsets, and it would save us a lot at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, so like providing a carbon tax, basically, if that's what you're saying. Yeah. So, Paul, would you want to speak on this topic?
Actually, both of them actually explained most of the important things. So, in the policy sector, I want to add that like the policies which will be taken specifically for the youth or youth population, I think the youth leaders should be included in the decision making while taking any policy regarding the youth. Actually,
Yeah,
it will depend on some kind of like age differences, like as a youth leader we will know what the other youths are focusing or uh, working towards it. So if a policy level decision can be making in the ministry level or the government of any countries, I think youth should be included here as a leader. And actually they need to be here to give their opinions that we can do this in this way. So
of
that's
course.
all I think, and all the other things they have covered very beautifully.
Yeah. So there's no way that you can speak for youth without being a youth. That's like speaking for an animal without knowing anything of it. So
To add on, sorry, I feel policy on accessibility of internet for young people is very important, and for us in the rural Africa, it's not the case everywhere. It's not the case in most parts of the world, I could say. Many young people don't have access to internet, and even if yeah, in some cases they have like smart gadgets, but they don't have that accessibility to go into the air. So I feel having policies that promote communication, and
yeah.
also that that help young people to communicate with each other could be something that's very vital in rural areas. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. So, last but not least, what I would like to ask you all, how can youth-led climate action movements ensure inclusivity and diversity between their ranks to amplify their impact and represent the voices of all communities? Does anyone want to speak on that?
So it can be engaging some kind of like different gender peoples, I think. Like we can include indigenous peoples here, and we can also include the male, female, and all the other genders which are currently in this world. So I think by adding different genders here, so it a organization or initiative can be more diverse, and also from the more uh, perspective, or like different people have some different perspective. I think this can be one of the issue or point of
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
I think young people can promote inclusivity in climate action by appreciating cultures of each other and also appreciating that sometimes we have differences and boundaries, and no one's knowledge is sufficient enough, so we always have to learn from a diverse spectrum of knowledge that's around us. Mm, of recent, we had a sparking conversation about youth with disability being left out into climate action, and this also expands into the employment world, where many young people who have disability and are actually facing issues with employment. Bosses don't want to hire them, and once they're hired, they're always discriminated. They feel like they're not doing work, just like young people. When a young person gets hired, they feel like, you know what? I think you don't have sufficient knowledge, you don't have the skills. I think we need to change those policies that will allow at least young people and in those young people in all the spectrum to be free, open, and also promote their creativity without despising or criticizing their efforts. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There should be a lot. There is being work done of including people of determination too. So thank you for bringing that up. So last but not least, Mariam, would you like to go?
I think I agree with both your point of views. Like there is a level of discrimination that comes where whether you're from an indigenous region or from a different nationality or you speak another language, and so I think a level of tolerance is needed, a level of awareness, a level of no one is better than the other. We just come from different parts of the world. Um, whether you're coming from a village or you're coming from a developed country, it's
Yes.
the impact and the knowledge and the experience that you have, and perhaps someone from an indigenous community or perhaps someone from the village has less experience or less knowledge compared to you, and that doesn't mean that they haven't tried to get the knowledge. It's because they don't have the resources to, and so that level of um, I think that level of awareness and that level of understanding of each other could bring a huge amount of understanding and lifting each other up. So, if, for example, someone doesn't know anything, rather than thinking that they are less than or they don't know enough information of, because they haven't done their due diligence, you can just think that maybe they don't have the resources to do their due diligence and maybe lift them up rather than drag them down. And yeah, I think that's the message that I think both of them are trying to say.
Exactly. So what I would also want to say on that is that if that villager knows something that the person from the city doesn't know, then indigenous knowledge can all is also playing a crucial role because the indigenous people have been keeping the earth alive for decades on end. So we also need their knowledge, don't we?
Yeah, it's like a two-way street, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can learn from each other and have those stereotypes or those kinds of prejudices that you have less, and that could perhaps like maybe put your egos aside and like start talking.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us today. We had a truly amazing discussion. Thank you guys for taking the time out, and I look forward to keeping the discussion going. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much,
Goodbye.
Iman.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.